What if a voice could unlock the deepest secrets of your heart? In an elegant mansion, a blind millionaire hires a nanny for his grandson, choosing her solely by her voice. But when she begins to sing, something extraordinary happens. Memories of a lost love and a hidden past begin to surface, connecting them in ways they never imagined. The mansion stood on the edge of a sprawling estate, surrounded by centuries-old oak trees and meticulously kept gardens. Inside, it was a place of silent opulence, where every room told a story of past grandeur and present loneliness. William sat in his favorite armchair, his milky eyes staring into the darkness that had been his world for the past 15 years. His fingers traced the intricate carvings on the chair's arms, grounding him in the present moment as he waited for the phone to ring. At 75, William was a man who had known great joy and profound sorrow. His wealth had afforded him every luxury, yet it could not buy back the things he had lost. The most recent loss, the tragic accident that claimed his daughter and son-in-law, had left him the sole guardian of his 6-year-old grandson, Oliver. The boy was a beacon of light in his life, but William knew he needed help. That was why he had decided to hire a nanny. He heard the butler, James, enter the room and placed the phone on the small table beside him. "It's time, sir," James said gently. William nodded, picking up the receiver. His grip was firm, but his heart raced with uncertainty. The agency had sent him several applications, but none had felt right until he heard the voice of Emma Parker. There was something in her tone, warmth, perhaps, or a quiet strength, that resonated with him. "Good afternoon, Mr. Bentley," came the voice from the other end, clear and calm. "This is Emma Parker." "Good afternoon, Miss Parker," William replied, his voice steady. "Thank you for agreeing to this interview." "It's my pleasure, sir," she said. "I understand you're looking for a nanny for your grandson." "Yes," William confirmed. "Oliver is a lively boy, full of energy and curiosity. He's been through a lot, and he needs someone who can be both a caregiver and a friend." "I believe I can be that person, Mr. Bentley," Emma said, her voice unwavering. "I have experience working with children, and I've always found it easy to connect with them." William paused, considering her words. "Tell me more about yourself, Miss Parker." "Well," she began, "I grew up in a small town, the kind where everyone knows everyone. I've always loved children and decided early on that I wanted to work with them. I studied child psychology in college and have been a nanny for the past 5 years." As she spoke, William could hear the sincerity in her voice. He had always trusted his instincts, and something about Emma felt right. "You have a pleasant voice, Miss Parker," he said. "It's reassuring." "Thank you, sir," she replied. "I believe it's important for children to feel safe and understood." William nodded, even though she couldn't see him. "I'd like you to come by tomorrow," he said. "Meet Oliver and see the house. If everything goes well, we can discuss the details then." "I'll be there," Emma promised. "Thank you for the opportunity, Mr. Bentley." After hanging up, William sat in silence for a moment, letting the conversation sink in. He felt a strange mix of anticipation and anxiety. He hoped Emma would be the right fit, not just for Oliver, but for himself as well. The next day, the mansion was abuzz with a quiet excitement. Oliver, sensing something special, had been on his best behavior all morning. He was a small boy with a mop of curly hair and inquisitive eyes that seemed to miss nothing. James had prepared his favorite breakfast, and now the boy was playing in the garden under the watchful eye of the housekeeper, Mrs. Harris. William sat in his study, listening for the sound of the doorbell. When it finally rang, his heart skipped a beat. James answered the door, and moments later, he heard footsteps approaching. "Mr. Bentley," James announced, "Miss Emma Parker is here." "Thank you, James," William said. "Please, show her in." Emma entered the room, and even though William could not see her, he felt her presence immediately. She moved with a quiet confidence, her footsteps light on the hardwood floor. "Mr. Bentley, it's a pleasure to meet you," she said warmly. "Likewise, Miss Parker," William replied. "Please, have a seat." Emma sat down, and for a moment, there was a comfortable silence. William could hear her breathe, steady and calm, and it reassured him. "I'd like you to meet Oliver," he said finally. "He's out in the garden. James will show you the way." Emma smiled, even though William could not see it. "I'd love to meet him." James led her out to the garden, where Oliver was busy constructing an elaborate castle out of building blocks. When he saw Emma, he looked up with wide, curious eyes. "Hello, Oliver," Emma said, crouching down to his level. "I'm Emma. I've heard a lot about you." Oliver studied her for a moment, then broke into a grin. "Hi, Emma. Do you want to help me build my castle?" "I'd love to," she replied, sitting down beside him. From his study window, William listened to their laughter and felt a wave of relief. It was the first sound of genuine joy he had heard in the house since the accident. Emma's presence seemed to light up the space around her, and for the first time in a long while, he felt a flicker of hope. As the afternoon wore on, Emma and Oliver played together, their laughter echoing through the garden. When it was time for lunch, they joined William in the dining room. The meal was simple but filled with easy conversation and smiles. William found himself drawn to Emma's voice, each word a melody that soothed his weary heart. "Oliver seems to like you," William said as they finished their meal. "I like him too," Emma replied, glancing at the boy who was now engrossed in his coloring book. "He's a wonderful child." William nodded. "I think this arrangement will work out well, Miss Parker." "I believe so too, Mr. Bentley," Emma said softly. "I'll do my best to take care of both of you." That evening, as the sun set over the estate, William sat by the window, listening to the sounds of the house. Emma's voice, singing a soft lullaby to Oliver, drifted up from the hallway. He felt a strange sense of déjà vu, as if he had heard that voice and that song somewhere before. It stirred something deep within him, a memory just out of reach. He pushed the thought aside, focusing instead on the present. For now, he was content to let the mystery of Emma Parker unfold slowly, one day at a time. The mansion, once filled with echoes of the past, now resonated with the promise of new beginnings. The days at the Bentley mansion began to find a new rhythm with Emma's presence. She seamlessly integrated herself into the household, bringing a sense of warmth and stability that had been absent since the tragedy. Oliver, in particular, flourished under her care. His laughter, once rare, now echoed through the halls, bringing a smile to William's face. One evening, after a long day of playing outside, Emma and Oliver settled into the cozy nook near the fireplace for story time. The fire crackled softly, casting a gentle glow around the room. William sat in his armchair nearby, a cup of tea in hand, listening intently. "Oliver, would you like me to read you a story or sing you a song tonight?" Emma asked, her voice tender. "Can you sing the lullaby again, Emma?" Oliver asked, his eyes wide with anticipation. "The one you sang yesterday?" "Of course," Emma replied, smiling. She took a deep breath and began to sing, her voice filling the room with a hauntingly beautiful melody. As the first notes reached William's ears, a chill ran down his spine. He hadn't heard that song in decades, not since his late wife used to sing it to their daughter. The similarity was startling. He closed his eyes, letting the music wash over him, and found himself transported back in time. In his mind's eye, he saw his wife, her face illuminated by the soft light of a bedside lamp, singing the very same lullaby to their infant daughter. The memory was so vivid that he could almost feel her presence beside him. When Emma finished the song, there was a moment of silence. Oliver was already drifting off to sleep, his little body curled up against her. Emma gently carried him to his room, tucking him in with care before returning to the living room. "Thank you, Emma," William said softly. "That was beautiful." "You're welcome, Mr. Bentley," she replied, taking a seat across from him. "It's a song my mother used to sing to me when I was a child." William's heart skipped a beat. "Your mother?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Yes," Emma said, a wistful smile on her face. "She had a beautiful voice. I always felt safe when she sang to me. William leaned forward, his curiosity piqued. Tell me more about your mother, Emma. Emma's smile faltered slightly. She passed away when I was very young, she said softly. I don't remember much about her, but I do remember her singing. It's one of the few memories I have of her. I'm sorry to hear that, William said, his voice filled with genuine sympathy. It must have been difficult growing up without her. It was, Emma admitted. But my father did his best to raise me. He was a kind man, though he never quite filled the void she left behind. William nodded, feeling a deep sense of empathy. I lost my wife many years ago, he said quietly. She used to sing that same lullaby to our daughter. Hearing you sing it brought back many memories. Emma looked at him, her eyes filled with understanding. I'm glad I could bring some comfort, Mr. Bentley. You have a remarkable gift, Emma, William said. Your voice, it's very special. Thank you, she replied, blushing slightly. It means a lot to hear that. As the days turned into weeks, William found himself drawn to Emma's voice more and more. Every time she sang, he felt a deep connection to his past, to the love he had lost but never forgotten. It was as if through her, he could relive those precious moments once again. One afternoon, while Emma and Oliver were playing in the garden, William sat in his study, pondering the strange sense of familiarity he felt towards her. There was something about Emma that seemed almost too coincidental to be true. He decided to confide in James, his trusted butler and old friend. James, could you come in here for a moment? William called out. James entered the study, a look of concern on his face. Yes, sir. Is everything all right? William gestured for him to sit. I've been thinking a lot about Emma, he began. There's something about her that feels familiar. When she sings, it's like I'm hearing my late wife's voice. James raised an eyebrow. That is quite peculiar, sir. Do you think there could be a connection? I'm not sure, William admitted. But I'd like you to look into her background. Discreetly, of course. See if there's anything that might explain this feeling I have. Of course, sir, James said, nodding. I'll start right away. Over the next few days, James conducted a thorough investigation into Emma's past. He contacted the nanny agency, combed through public records, and even reached out to people who might have known her family. Meanwhile, William continued to observe Emma, noting the way she interacted with Oliver, the kindness in her eyes, and the unmistakable resonance of her voice. One evening, as they sat together in the living room, Emma noticed William seemed deep in thought. Is everything all right, Mr. Bentley? She asked gently. Yes, Emma, he replied, forcing a smile. I've just been thinking about my late wife and our daughter. Your singing brings back so many memories. I'm glad I can bring some comfort, she said softly. I can't imagine how difficult it must be for you. It is, William admitted. But having you here has made it easier. You're very special, Emma. Thank you, she said, her eyes shining with gratitude. That means a lot to me. As the night wore on, William found himself reflecting on his life, the joys and the sorrows, the people he had loved and lost. He couldn't shake the feeling that Emma was somehow connected to his past, a bridge between the life he once had and the future he hoped to build for Oliver. The next day, James came to him with a folder of documents. Sir, I've found some information that might interest you, he said, handing over the folder. William opened it, his hands trembling slightly. As he read through the papers, a picture began to form, one that both startled and intrigued him. There were letters, birth certificates, and old photographs, all pointing to a possible connection between Emma's family and his own. James, this is remarkable, William said, his voice filled with awe. Could it really be true? It appears so, sir, James replied. There are too many coincidences to ignore. William sat back in his chair, his mind racing. If what James had found was true, then Emma was more than just a nanny. She was a link to his past, a part of the family he thought he had lost forever. He knew he had to talk to her, to find out the truth. That evening, after Oliver had gone to bed, William asked Emma to join him in the study. She entered, a look of curiosity on her face. "Is everything all right, Mr. Bentley?" "Please, sit down, Emma," he said, gesturing to the chair opposite his. "There's something important we need to discuss." Emma sat down, her eyes filled with concern. "What is it?" "I've been looking into your past," William began, his voice gentle but firm. "There are some things I've discovered that I need to talk to you about." Emma's eyes widened in surprise. "What do you mean?" "Emma, I believe there's a connection between your family and mine," William said, handing her the folder of documents. "These papers suggest that you might be related to my late wife." Emma took the folder, her hands shaking as she read through the documents. Her eyes filled with tears as she looked up at William. "I don't understand. How is this possible?" "We need to find out," William said softly. "But whatever the outcome, you are already a part of this family, Emma. You've brought joy and love back into our lives, and for that, I'm eternally grateful." Emma nodded, tears streaming down her face. "Thank you, Mr. Bentley. I don't know what to say." "Just promise me we'll figure this out together," William said, reaching out to take her hand. "I promise," Emma whispered, her voice filled with emotion. As they sat together in the study, a sense of hope and anticipation filled the room. The past was beginning to resurface, and with it, the possibility of new beginnings and deeper connections. The days that followed were filled with a tense anticipation. William and Emma spent their evenings in the study, poring over the documents James had uncovered. Each piece of paper, each photograph, seemed to draw them closer to a truth that was both exhilarating and daunting. Oliver, blissfully unaware of the turmoil, continued to thrive under Emma's care, his laughter a constant reminder of the joy she had brought into their lives. One afternoon, as Oliver napped, William and Emma sat in the study, a stack of letters spread out on the desk before them. The room was filled with the soft ticking of the grandfather clock, a steady rhythm that seemed to underscore their search. "Look at this one," Emma said, her voice tinged with excitement as she handed William a faded envelope. "It's addressed to your wife from someone named Margaret. The postmark is from over 50 years ago." William took the envelope, his fingers tracing the delicate handwriting. He carefully opened it and began to read aloud. "Dear Eleanor," he began, his voice trembling slightly, "I hope this letter finds you well. It has been many years since we last spoke, and there are things I must tell you." As he read, a story of heartbreak and sacrifice unfolded. Margaret, it seemed, was Eleanor's childhood friend. The letter revealed that Eleanor had given birth to a child out of wedlock before she met William. Unable to care for the baby herself, she had arranged for the child to be adopted by a kind family. Emma's eyes filled with tears as the implications sank in. "So, your wife had a child before she met you. That means you could be my granddaughter," William finished, his voice filled with awe. "If your mother was that child, then we are family." The realization hung in the air between them, a moment of profound connection. Emma reached across the desk, taking William's hand in hers. "I can't believe it," she whispered. "All this time, I never knew." "Neither did I," William said softly. "But it explains so much. Your voice, the way you care for Oliver, it's in your blood." As they sat in silence, absorbing the enormity of their discovery, James entered the room, carrying another stack of papers. "Sir, I've found more documents," he said, placing them on the desk. "These might help fill in some of the gaps." William and Emma eagerly sifted through the new information. There were birth certificates, adoption records, and even a few more letters from Margaret. Each piece of evidence brought them closer to confirming their suspicions. "Look at this," Emma said, holding up a birth certificate. "It's my mother's. Her birth name was Emily, but she was adopted and her name was changed to Margaret after her new parents." William took the certificate, his eyes scanning the details. Emily, that was the name Eleanor had chosen. It's all coming together. James cleared his throat, drawing their attention. There's one more thing, sir, he said, handing William a small, leather-bound journal. I found this among your wife's belongings in the attic. It appears to be her diary. With trembling hands, William opened the diary. The pages were filled with Eleanor's neat, flowing script, detailing her thoughts and feelings from years gone by. As he read, he found entries about her secret pregnancy, her heartbreak at giving up her child, and her hope that one day, she might find peace with her decision. Emma listened intently as William read aloud, tears streaming down her face. She loved her child so much, she said softly. Even though she had to give her up, she never stopped loving her. William nodded, his own eyes brimming with tears. She was a remarkable woman, he said quietly. And now, through you, a part of her has come back into my life. As they continued to piece together the fragments of the past, a sense of closure began to form. The questions that had plagued them were being answered, and with each revelation, their bond grew stronger. That evening, after putting Oliver to bed, William and Emma sat by the fireplace, reflecting on the journey they had undertaken. The flames cast a warm glow over the room, a comforting presence as they shared their thoughts and feelings. I never imagined I would find my family this way, Emma said, her voice filled with wonder. I've always felt like something was missing, and now I know why. You've brought so much joy into our lives, Emma, William replied. You've given me back a piece of my wife, a piece of my past that I thought was lost forever. Emma smiled, her eyes shining with gratitude. And you've given me a family, Mr. Bentley. A real family. I can't thank you enough. Call me William, he said gently. We're family now, and I want us to be close. Thank you, William, Emma said, her heart full. I promise I'll do my best to honor the memory of your wife and to be the granddaughter you deserve. As the night wore on, they continued to talk, sharing stories and memories, weaving their lives together in a tapestry of love and connection. The mansion, once a place of sorrow and loss, was now filled with the promise of new beginnings and the hope of a brighter future. In the days that followed, William and Emma continued their search for answers, delving deeper into the family history. They reached out to distant relatives, gathered more documents, and even visited the places where Eleanor had lived and loved. Each step brought them closer to understanding the full scope of their connection, solidifying their bond as family. One afternoon, as they sat together in the study, Emma looked at William with a thoughtful expression. I've been thinking, she said slowly, about how we can honor Eleanor's memory. Maybe we could create a family album, something that tells her story and ours. It could be a way for Oliver to know his great-grandmother and for us to remember her. William smiled, touched by the idea. That's a wonderful idea, Emma. Let's do it. Let's create something beautiful that celebrates our family and the love that has brought us together. With that, they set to work, gathering photographs, letters, and mementos. They spent hours arranging the pieces, crafting a narrative that honored Eleanor's legacy and celebrated the newfound connections that had enriched their lives. As they worked, they found themselves growing closer, their bond deepening with each shared memory and each new discovery. The family album became a symbol of their journey, a testament to the love and resilience that had carried them through the darkest times and into the light of a new beginning. By the time the album was finished, it was a masterpiece of love and remembrance, a tangible representation of the family they had become. They placed it in a place of honor in the living room, a constant reminder of the strength of their bond and the beauty of their shared history. In the quiet moments that followed, as they stood together, looking at the album, William and Emma felt a profound sense of peace. They had found each other, against all odds, and in doing so, had discovered the true meaning of family. With the family album complete and a sense of newfound belonging in their hearts, life at the Bentley mansion took on a comforting routine. The days were filled with laughter, the joy of discovery, and the warmth of family. Oliver thrived under Emma's care, his bond with her growing stronger with each passing day. William, too, felt a renewed sense of purpose and happiness. One afternoon, as the sun cast long shadows over the estate, William and Emma sat in the study, sorting through a box of old letters and photographs that James had found in the attic. The room was filled with the scent of aged paper and the soft sound of rustling pages. "Look at this one," Emma said, holding up a photograph of a young Eleanor, her smile radiant and full of life. "She was beautiful." "Yes, she was," William replied, his voice tinged with nostalgia. "She had a light about her that could brighten any room." As they continued to sift through the box, Emma came across a small, intricately carved wooden box. "What's this?" she asked, carefully opening it. Inside, she found a collection of old letters tied together with a faded blue ribbon. The letters were addressed to Eleanor from someone named Margaret. "Margaret, that was the name of the woman who wrote to Eleanor about the adoption," Emma said, her eyes widening in recognition. William leaned forward, his interest piqued. "Let's read them," he said. They untied the ribbon and carefully unfolded the first letter. The paper was fragile, the ink faded, but the words were clear. "Dear Eleanor," William read aloud, "I hope this letter finds you well. I have thought of you often since our last meeting, and I wanted to let you know that Emily is doing wonderfully. She is a bright, happy child, and her new family loves her dearly." Emma's eyes filled with tears as she listened. "Emily, that's my mother's birth name." They continued to read through the letters, each one painting a vivid picture of Eleanor's love and longing for the child she had given up. Margaret's words were filled with kindness and reassurance, offering Eleanor updates on Emily's life and happiness. "These letters," William said softly, "they show how much Eleanor cared for your mother. She never stopped thinking about her, never stopped loving her." Emma nodded, her heart heavy with emotion. It's comforting to know that she was loved, even from afar. As they read the final letter, they found a small note tucked inside. It was from Margaret, addressed to William. "William," he read, his voice trembling, "if you are reading this, it means Eleanor has trusted you with her most precious secret. I hope you can find it in your heart to forgive her and to understand the difficult choices she had to make. Please know that Emily was loved deeply and that Eleanor's love for you never wavered." Tears filled William's eyes as he finished reading. "She carried this burden all her life," he said softly. "I wish I could have been there for her." Emma reached out and took his hand. "You loved her deeply, and she knew that. She made her choices out of love, for both you and Emily." As they sat in silence, reflecting on the past, Oliver entered the room, his face bright with excitement. "Emma, Grandpa, come see what I found," he exclaimed, holding up an old, dusty book. "What is it, Oliver?" Emma asked, smiling at his enthusiasm. "It's a diary," Oliver said, handing it to William. "It has Grandma's name on it." William carefully opened the diary, recognizing Eleanor's handwriting. "This is incredible," he said, his voice filled with wonder. "It's Eleanor's diary from when she was young." They spent the next few hours reading through the diary, uncovering stories of Eleanor's youth, her dreams, and her struggles. Each entry offered a glimpse into the woman she had been, and the love she had carried for her family. One entry, in particular, caught their attention. It was dated a few months before Eleanor's passing. "Today, I thought of Emily again," William read aloud. "I wonder where she is, what her life is like. I hope she is happy. I hope she knows that I loved her, even though I couldn't be there for her. And I hope that one day, she will find the family she deserves." Emma's eyes filled with tears as she listened. "She never stopped thinking about her," she said softly. "She carried that love with her always." William nodded, his heart heavy with emotion. "She was an incredible woman. And now, through you, a part of her lives on." As the days turned into weeks, William and Emma continued to explore the past, uncovering more stories and memories that brought them closer together. They visited the places where Eleanor had lived, talked to people who had known her, and pieced together the fragments of her life. One day, while exploring the attic, they came across a trunk filled with old family heirlooms. Among the items, they found a locket with a small photograph inside. It was a picture of Eleanor holding a baby, her face filled with love and hope. "This must be Emily," Emma said, her voice filled with awe. "She kept this all these years." William nodded, his eyes misty with tears. "She never forgot. She kept her memory alive, even when she couldn't be with her." As they held the locket, a sense of peace washed over them. They had uncovered the truth, and in doing so, had found a deeper connection to their past and to each other. In the weeks that followed, they continued to honor Eleanor's memory, sharing stories and creating new memories that celebrated their family. They visited Eleanor's grave, placing flowers and reading from her diary, feeling her presence with them as they paid their respects. One evening, as the sun set over the estate, William, Emma, and Oliver sat together on the porch, watching the colors of the sky change. The air was filled with the scent of blooming flowers, and the soft sound of crickets chirping. "Grandpa, tell me more about Grandma," Oliver said, his eyes bright with curiosity. William smiled, his heart full. "Your grandma was an amazing woman, Oliver. She was kind, strong, and full of love. She faced many challenges, but she never let them take away her spirit. She loved us all deeply, and she would be so proud of you." Emma nodded, her eyes shining with tears. "She would be very proud of you, Oliver. You are a part of her legacy, and you carry her love with you every day." As they sat together, sharing stories and memories, they felt the presence of their loved ones around them. The past had resurfaced, bringing with it a sense of closure and peace. And as they looked towards the future, they knew that they were stronger together, united by the love that had brought them together and the family they had become. The Bentley mansion, once a symbol of solitude and sorrow, now thrummed with life and laughter. Each day brought new discoveries and deepened bonds. Emma had become an integral part of the household, her presence a soothing balm for both William and Oliver. The sense of family, long elusive, had finally found its way back into their hearts. One crisp autumn morning, the family gathered in the garden. The leaves, painted in vibrant hues of red and gold, danced in the gentle breeze. William sat in a comfortable chair, wrapped in a warm blanket, watching as Emma and Oliver played nearby. "Emma, catch!" Oliver shouted, tossing a ball to her with a wide grin. Emma caught it effortlessly, laughing as she threw it back. "Nice throw, Oliver. You're getting better every day." William smiled, his heart swelling with pride. He marveled at the ease with which Emma had blended into their lives, bringing joy and love that had been missing for so long. The garden, once a place of silent reflection, was now filled with the sounds of happiness. As the morning passed, they decided to take a break. Emma and Oliver joined William, sitting on the grass at his feet. "Grandpa, can you tell us a story?" Oliver asked, looking up at him with eager eyes. William chuckled. "All right, let me think. How about the story of how your grandma and I met?" "Yes, please," Oliver exclaimed, clapping his hands. Emma smiled, leaning in to listen. She loved hearing stories about Eleanor, each one adding another layer to the woman she had never met but felt so deeply connected to. "It was a rainy afternoon," William began, his voice soft and nostalgic. "I was walking home from the office when I saw a young woman struggling with a broken umbrella. I offered to help, and she accepted. That young woman was your grandma, Eleanor." He paused, his eyes misty with memories. "We walked together, sharing that broken umbrella, and by the time we reached her destination, we were soaked to the bone. But it didn't matter. We had laughed and talked, and by the end of that walk, I knew I wanted to see her again." Emma and Oliver listened intently, their eyes shining with anticipation. "And did you?" Emma asked, her voice filled with curiosity. "Yes," William replied, a smile spreading across his face. "I asked her out to dinner the very next day. From that moment on, we were inseparable. She was the love of my life, and every day with her was a gift." As he finished the story, a comfortable silence settled over them. The love that had defined William and Eleanor's relationship seemed to envelop them all, bridging the past and the present in a seamless tapestry of family and connection. That evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of pink and orange, Emma and William decided to visit Eleanor's grave. They brought along the family album, a tribute to the woman who had brought them all together. The cemetery was quiet, the air filled with the scent of blooming roses. William knelt beside Eleanor's grave, placing a bouquet of fresh flowers on the headstone. Emma stood beside him, holding the album close to her heart. "We've come a long way, Eleanor," William said softly. "Your love has guided us, even from beyond the grave. We found each other, and in doing so, we found you again." Emma opened the album, gently placing it at the foot of the grave. "This is for you, Grandma," she whispered. "A piece of our family, a piece of you." As they stood in silence, a gentle breeze rustled the leaves, as if Eleanor herself were whispering her approval. William felt a sense of peace wash over him, a feeling of closure and fulfillment. "We love you, Eleanor," he said, his voice breaking. "Thank you for everything." With that, they left the cemetery, their hearts lighter, their spirits lifted. They knew that Eleanor's love would continue to guide them, lighting their path as they moved forward. Back at the mansion, they gathered in the living room, the warmth of the fire casting a golden glow around them. Oliver sat on Emma's lap, his head resting against her chest. William sat beside them, a contented smile on his face. "Emma," William began, his voice filled with emotion, "I want you to know how grateful I am for everything you've done. You've brought so much light into our lives, and I can't imagine our family without you." Emma's eyes filled with tears. "Thank you, William. Being here with you and Oliver has been the greatest blessing. I feel like I've finally found my place, my family." William reached out and took her hand. "You are family, Emma. You always will be." As the fire crackled and the night deepened, they sat together, a family bound by love, loss, and the unbreakable ties of fate. The journey they had undertaken, filled with twists and turns, had brought them to this moment of profound connection and belonging. In the days that followed, they continued to build on the foundation they had created. They made new memories, celebrated milestones, and cherished the simple moments of everyday life. The Bentley mansion, once a symbol of isolation, had become a sanctuary of love and joy. One crisp winter morning, as snowflakes danced outside the window, they gathered around the Christmas tree, decorating it with ornaments that told the story of their journey. Each ornament, each light, was a testament to the love that had brought them together. "Look, Grandpa!" Oliver exclaimed, holding up a handmade ornament. "It's a picture of Grandma and you." William took the ornament, his eyes misty with tears. "It's beautiful, Oliver." "Thank you." As they finished decorating the tree, they stood back to admire their work. The tree, adorned with memories and love, stood as a beacon of hope and joy. Emma wrapped her arms around Oliver, pulling him close. "Merry Christmas, Oliver," she whispered, kissing the top of his head. "Merry Christmas, Emma," Oliver replied, his eyes shining with happiness. William joined them, his heart full. "Merry Christmas, my family." As they stood together, bathed in the warm glow of the tree lights, they knew that they had found something truly special. They had found each other, and in doing so, had discovered the true meaning of family. The Bentley mansion, once a place of sorrow, had become a home filled with love, laughter, and the promise of new beginnings. And as they faced the future together, they knew that no matter what challenges lay ahead, they would face them as a family, united by the love that had brought them together and the memories that would sustain them for years to come.